Okay, so just waiting to confirm that we are live on YouTube as soon as I see that. And we'll move on. Of course, it'll probably start playing. Help me answer a question. Which of these brands would you skip? And there we are. All right, we are officially live-ish. And sister, it's good to see you first in the house tonight, and says good evening. So let me tell you, so today I finished writing the next part of my Sacrifice of Angels series. So I'm going to record that tomorrow when I have a little more energy. And then the next thing I'm going to do is, after I do that one, I'm going to do a follow-up on the repercussions of it for the rest of Deep Space Nine. But then I'm actually going to do a little bit of a comparison of that and Identity, specifically Identity Part 2 from the Orville. And that's what I wanted to talk about a little bit tonight, just to kind of hang out with you guys a little bit. If you're interested in talking about it. If not, I guess we'll talk about whatever. But today, I actually, when I took a little bit of a break from when I was working on the writing and stuff, and watched Sacrifice of Angels, and then watched Identity Part 2. And just to compare the two back to back to kind of get an idea of the structure of the two and the general feel of them. And when I compare them, like I know I said in the thumbnail there, who did it better? I don't want to be unfair. I know that the Orville had, a decade and a half worth of visual effects advancements over Deep Space Nine, and so that actually more than that, because it was like 90. So yeah, it was 20 plus years. And hey, Mr. Miles, good to see you, buddy. Have not talked to you on one of my streams in a while. Good to have you here. And let me get so I wanted to kind of compare the two side by side, and I do have some interesting comparisons that are not just visual effects based. And so, because I don't think it would be fair, it's just like I don't compare the original series visual effects to the visual effects of TNG or whatever, because that's not fair either, right? Even though I still like the aesthetics of the sets of the original series, but that's just because I'm old, I think. So Legion is in the house, says, hope you're well. Thank you, my friend. Hanging in there, doing the best I can, all things considered. Nervous about the medication that's coming in a couple of days. Hopefully it helps. We'll see what happens. Then Alex is here. Salty, were you around for the fall of Saigon? I was alive. So, yes. Mr. Miles says, you are live. Thank you, sir. Sister says, hey, back. Multi-Gunman says, hey, how's it going? I'm, like I said, hanging in there best I can. It's been, it's funny because you wouldn't think that it was an exhausting day because, I wrote a couple of paragraphs of stuff, watched a couple of episodes of shows that I enjoyed, but that in and of itself is exhausting. Just based on, yeah, it sucks. I would not wish this on my worst enemy. Just saying. Mike Richards is here from Columbus, Ohio. Hope things are going well in your neck of the woods. Indie Tiger is in the house. Sci-Fi Sith says, hey there, it's been a while. What happened to Anti-Trekker Channel 9? Well, funny story. And so, and it's Mr. Miles, among others, and the Trek Yards, and a whole lot of others have suggested that the anti-Trekker has too much of a negative connotation to it, that I should consider doing something that is not a direct negative when talking about Star Trek. And there are people that have said, well, I was thinking about checking out your channel, but why would I subscribe to someone who is opposed to Star Trek? And so, and Joshua, I think you're going to probably have to lure her with a treat because she's comfortable now. And so, Auntie is, there you go. Auntie was diligently sleeping. So shut the door, please. And so it's time for her walk. So anyway, so I changed it to Salty Trekker for a few reasons. There were rumors flying that people over on Friday Night Tights were making fun of me, calling me Salty Trekker, which I thought was hilarious. That may or may not be true. I've yet to find any proof that that's actually true. So,
how would you compare the media and the average person's reaction to the fall of Saigon versus the fall of Kabul today?
Wow. That is a loaded question and a half, Alex. Very different. I mean, well, here's the problem. Today, and the honest truth is that when people kind of pick and choose their news sources today, and they truly do. People will basically pick a news source that fits their political ideology. With the fall of Saigon, back in those days, the news media was not nearly as, shall we say, polarized as it is today. You didn't pick a news source based on your politics. The news was fairly consistent across the board. And let me see here. And sorry, and so Alex, it's just a totally different climate as far as, I mean, it's like comparing apples and oranges. It's not. It's like you can't really compare the coverage because everything is different. Because back then you didn't, you didn't get to just pick your news based on what flavor of news you liked. You didn't pick left-leaning, right-leaning, centrist. You didn't pick news that was extremist versus more, mainstream, stuff like that. You just picked news, or you just watched the news. Okay, so I wanted to make sure. So Indie Tiger, I guess the missus accidentally hid you and unhid you. So it was just an accident. So I apologize for her. That I just wanted to make sure there wasn't something horrible that was said or something, because I've never had her like hide anybody. And so, but just wanted to make sure there was nothing.
In terrified beyond capacity for rational
thought. Want to make sure there was no major problems there. Oh goodness. So Indie Tiger, you're not in trouble. All right. Don't think Mrs. Andy Trigger, Pepper Trekker. Don't think that should I call her Spicy Trekker? I don't know. Salt and spice. We need something. Pepper, because pepper sounds like I don't know. Maybe pepper, I guess. But. And then thank you so much, Mercer. And yes, terrified beyond the capacity for rational thought. I do love me some Egon. Looking forward to Ghostbusters Afterlife when that comes. So sorry, I didn't mean to kind of. It's like, man, that was a question unlike any I think I've ever been asked, Alex, as far as the news media thing. And trying to compare the news media from the 1970s to the news media today is just so radically different. I mean, anybody that can remember that far back, it's a different world as far as media is concerned. I mean, there was, the internet wasn't even a pipe dream back then, Back in the 1970s, a teletype was high tech. Tape to tape computer banks the size of a refrigerator was high tech, right? So that's, yeah. And then let's see. So Tristan says, "Good evening, kids. How you doing?" Alex says, "Only seen the first few episodes of The Orville." Well, let me tell you, you should, if you have Hulu, you should catch yourself up, because Orville, it's kind of funny because The Orville is a funny show in that it starts out as being kind of a silly, goofy parody of Star Trek. And then it kind of grows into itself and becomes I wouldn't say serious, but a sci-fi franchise into itself. It's a slightly more lighthearted look at Star Trek The Next Generation. It really is. And there's some really, really good sci-fi stories there. And so I gotta say, and Identity is a 2-part episode in which we get to explore an entirely synthetic society. Way better in a 2-part episode, way better than the entirety of the series Picard. So, just saying, that's, yeah, a synthetic society done better in one 2-part episode than, yeah, all of Picard. And that's where Indy Tiger was accidentally hidden and then unhidden by the Mrs. Again, sorry, Indy Tiger, I don't see you commenting after that. I hope that you didn't take it the wrong way. Oh man, there you are. Okay. Okay, I saw that you did leave a comment after that. I just wanted to make sure. No, you're not in any trouble. She hit the button completely by accident. And Mercer.
Mercerize your boss $1. I remember Teddy Ruxpin, the most high-tech toy. His mouth moved to the tape speech. It wasn't my favorite toy. I was partial to my Optimus Prime original, which I still have.
Well, you see, you are a little younger than me. Teddy Ruxpin was a little after my time. We did not have... I'm trying to think, did we have any good talking toys, really, when I was little? I mean, there was like the toys where you would pull the string and they would say, like, the cow said, but yeah, there wasn't really much. So, yeah, congratulations. And let's see. Bird is in the house, says Kapla, and then let's make sure. Mr. Miles says news media has been like this since 9/11. From what I've seen, they didn't want to let those ratings go and constantly hype things out of proportion. Well, yeah, the news media has been insane. I would say, I don't know if I would say since 9/11. I think that it started prior to 9/11 because, I mean, I just think 9/11 is, again, because you're a lot younger than me, Miles, but I mean, like, I think about the Monica Lewinsky scandal, and how big that was in the news media. I mean, honestly, it was the creation of, I think the death of news integrity was the birth of CNN. And don't get me wrong, I don't think that CNN had that intent when they created it, but I think that was the beginning and the end. I don't think, it's one of those things that I don't think this is the day it happened, but I think that it's one of those things that happened gradually as the 24-hour news cycle began. And so, that's just kind of my thoughts on it. She can be the Pepper Potts to your Iron Man. Well, except that, man, that's putting me in way too cool a position to call me Iron Man, because I ain't anywhere near Tony Stark, that's for sure. Sci-Fi Sis says salt and pepper is funny. It makes sense. It does, but, you know, I don't know. She's just way too cool to be Pepper. I was like, not spicy enough to me. So what's the topic tonight? So tonight, I wanted to talk a little bit. Thank you for getting me back on topic, because I'm just going all over the place. I wanted to talk a little bit about Identity from the Orville versus Sacrifice of Angels from Deep Space Nine. Both are fan favorites of their individual series. Obviously, Identity was a second season of the Orville episode versus fifth season of Deep Space Nine. Identity did have the advantage of coming much later, so I obviously points to the visual effects for Orville, but that doesn't, you know, so I'm not counting anything. Just put it right there. Thank you. Not, you know, that's just kind of a given that they would have better visual effects. What I'm more interested in is from a storytelling perspective, not so much a can they make more realistic looking visual effects? Because I'll tell you, there are some things about the Orville, while they have better visual effects, that I think are garbage. Like Krill ships look like a pile of hot garbage to me. I hope with season 3 they make Krill ships look better, because Krill ships look like they're made of cardboard. I hate them. I absolutely despise the Krill ships. Same with the design of Kalon ships. They're just, I mean, they're imposing, but they look dumb to me. Honestly, you can, you know, the Union ships are okay, but I don't particularly care for the Quantum Drive, but okay. At least I can get behind the aesthetic of it. But yeah, so far, not very impressed with most of the other factions, per se. Anyway, so ship design goes to Deep Space Nine all the way. But visual effects, obviously, you know, Orville just had the tech that Deep Space Nine didn't. But here's where I think Orville really did it well, is number one, they didn't set up an artificial battle line like Deep Space Nine did. The battle took place at Earth's moon, which actually made sense. And Blaine, thank you so much, just throws a buck in just for the heck of it, because you love me, I guess, which, go figure. So, Blaine S., thank you, my friend. I truly appreciate it, and my doctors will appreciate it as well.
Mercer create $1. I really like the Chactal. They look like Remans, with cooler guns.
I'm trying to remember them, because I don't remember them all by name. I'm just assuming that's one of the races in Orville. Let me see. Let me see if I can find them. Oh, come on. So it's, let me see if alien species bordering with the Krill. They do look kind of like Remans. Oh, yeah, I vaguely remember them. They do look a lot like the Remans. I'll give you that. But I wasn't a big fan of the Remans, so I'm not going to say I was a big fan of them either. Anyway, so here's where I think that, and I'll get to the chat in a minute, but I want to get my point across on where the battle went. Here's where I think the big difference was. So number one, they didn't draw an artificial line midway between Kalon and Earth. The battle took place at Earth. They summoned the fleet to Earth as a defensive last stand, which makes sense, because if they had sent the fleet to halfway between Kalon and Earth, the Kalon would have just not stopped and headed straight for Earth. So they put their full defensive line at Earth's moon, which makes sense, because they would have had to drop out of quantum drive or whatever at the gravity well of the moon. And that's where the battle took place. The Union fleet immediately just engaged the Kalon fleet to try and stop them from getting to Earth. The Kalon fleet was basically interested in getting to... So the Kalons were basically doing what Sisko was trying to do in Deep Space Nine. He wanted to get... The Kalons wanted to get to Earth, and the Union fleet was trying to stop them. But the problem is, in this particular case, the Union fleet was outgunned. And so in the early parts of the battle... Sorry, I have to turn the AC on. It's getting a little warm in here. In the early parts of the battle, the Union lost 30-odd ships where the Kalon only lost 6. It was not looking good. And 5 Kalon ships broke through the lines. Not a single ship like they did in the Deep Space Nine battle. And another thing that makes perfect sense is that the Orville, as well as about a half a dozen other ships, immediately went in hot pursuit of those 5 Kalon ships. They didn't just say, oh, well, I guess those 5 get through. You know, like, it seemed like, you know, when the Defiant gets through, for whatever reason, the rest of the Dominion fleet was just like, well, I guess the Defiant got through. Oh, well. No, you know, why didn't they send a couple of battle cruisers after the Defiant? Guess they didn't. So 5 Kalon ships busted through, and about a half a dozen Union ships immediately went after them and tried to stop them and failed. And that's when the Krill came in, much like the Klingons, and saved the day. From a storytelling perspective, the battle felt more compelling, felt like I was watching something unfold, as opposed to watching some visual effects shots. And so now, yes, it had its little gags in there, like just a walk in the park Kazansky, which was hilarious. And, you know, now it's time to wash your mouth out with Gordon and stuff like that. But it was really about, you know, you were telling a story in the battle. It wasn't just epic effects shots and then somebody describing what was happening. You were telling the story in the effects shots, and the dialogue was also supplementing it, if that makes sense. So that's my basic opinion of it. Danger Dave asks, which decade has been your favorite so far? Wow, that's a tough one. It depends on for what. Because, like, if you say... Who controls the space? Controls the and thank you, Alex, throws $9.99.
Since you mentioned TNG and I had the honeymoon from hell this year, you rewrite Captain's Holiday next.
You've been bugging me about
Jones,
that one.
like time-traveling Vorgans optional. Maybe more about Reese's culture.
You've been mentioning Captain's Holiday a lot, so I'm gonna have to. I don't even remember that episode at all. What season is that one? You have to make me look it up. Let's see, TNG. Wow, barely typed Captain's Holiday, 66th episode, huh? Okay, let's see. Season 3. Oh, well, then it must be good, right? Oh, no. Oh, it's that horrible Vash episode. Oh, you hate me. You hate me. Why do you hate me so much? I'll take a look here. Enterprise, and of course you just want me to have to deal with Risa.
Hi diddly ho, hi diddly ho, hi diddly ho, hi diddly ho,
Mercer stands $1. You know, it just occurred to me that we really haven't had a successful test of this equipment.
I blame myself. So do I. Oh man. So I will consider Captain's Holiday, but wow, that'll be a bit more of a challenge, I think. So anyway, so as far as favorite decade, like for movies, I would, man, see, I even have a tough time with that because, like, I want to say Man, I don't know. I have a tough one. It's tough because I'll say the 80s. I'll say the 80s because the 80s has some of my favorite films of all time, like Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan and stuff like that. But it also is the decade in which I met my wife, and you know, it was the last decade that I didn't have chronic pain in. So yeah, I'll go with the 80s. So Thomas says, what do you think of that clip I sent you? I actually downloaded that full episode and will be using it in a movie night with Matthew. Alex says, how would you write for Garrick in the Deep Space Nine
No, I just know all about
sequel
ruined vacations.
I just know all about ruined vacations. Well, you're going to ruin what time I have left. I see how you are, Alex. You're just such a jerk. I'll see what I can do with that. No promises. So how would I write Garrick in a DS9 sequel series? I would actually if you were going to have something take place like in the world of Picard right now, I would have Garrick be I would actually be interested in having Garrick be either the head of the Obsidian Order, or even just like the general head of Cardassian intelligence. I would have him very high up in the Cardassian government.
Mercer Melnitz $1. Oh, that's very fascinating to me. I read a lot myself. Some people think him too intellectual, but I think it's a fabulous way to spend your spare time. I also play racquetball. Do you have any hobbies?
I collect spores, molds, and fungus. Yes, indeed. I can tell Mercer is very excited about Ghostbusters. So yes, thank you, Thomas, because you sent me the episode number, which is what I really needed for that. So that's, but Alex, that's how I would deal with Garrick. I would put him high up in the Cardassian government, and I would probably write something about like I would have Bashir reach out to him in some way, because that I think would humanize it a little bit to remind us about their adventures together. Mr. Miles says, I imagine you played with lawn darts as a kid. I had a friend who had lawn darts. I never did. Yeah, they were cool. The unsafe ones that you could kill someone with, they were awesome. But I also actually, I had a archery set. I mean, like a real archery set. I grew up on a ranch, and so, I mean, I would shoot hay bales from about a quarter mile away. Maybe she's offered by the word saltine. Maybe she's offended by the word saltines. Oh, with the whole, what is it, Auntie? I know Auntie wants to come in here now. But I can't. Let's see. And Speak and Spell. Oh, yeah, I forgot about Speak and Spell. All right, and Sci-Fi Sid says, I hate it when heck, I assume you tried to say hack. You know, I don't like calling people hacks, but hack writers just copy and paste better original TV or movie scripts and ideas, just make crap knockoffs. Well, knockoffs can be fun, though. I'm not sure what specifically you're talking about, but, you know, anything Kurogan, of course. And John DeMarco saying that I played with spears when I was a kid. You know, funny you should say that. I don't know if you know what pampas grass is. But pampas grass is a plant that grows these long shoots that then have these like fluffy
Hi dilly ho, hi
tops.
dilly ho, hi dilly ho.
And if you pull the
hi
shoot
dilly ho,
off, it does make a very effective spear that you can
Mercer
throw at
Creed
your
$1.
friends.
What is the most philosophically challenging Star Trek or related episode you've seen? Though not technically Trek, the Orville episode where they have to decide on the female sanctuary colony was very deep.
Philosophically challenging, I think. I mean, I think there's a couple. I think that let that be your last battlefield can be philosophically challenging, no matter where you stand, if you pay attention to it. Because most people, what they do is with Lokai and Beale, they simply identify with one of them and assume that the other is the bad guy, and forget that they're both equally evil, and that they are both to blame for the destruction of their planet, and that the deeper message of that is the utter futility of hate. And that's a message that still most people don't get. And honestly, the true message of let that be your last battlefield really didn't even sink in for me until just a couple of years ago. So I think that, as far as Star Trek, would be one that I would consider challenging. With Star Trek The Next Generation, honestly, I think that the way they wrote it, it just felt too ham-fisted most of the time. The Orville, I think, did an interesting job with the Mocklins. I think that the Mocklins really did a very, very good job at presenting gender identity issues in an interesting and different way, to challenge people in a way that they weren't expecting. And I think that that's something I got to give props to Seth MacFarlane for, in being able to deal with those issues in ways that we weren't expecting, both with their child and the gender assignment surgery, with the colony that they found, with just everything having to do with the Mocklins. It's been, they've done some very challenging things. So yeah. Let's see. Mercer's, I already read that. Let's see. I already read that, and now the chat jumped on me because I'm so far behind. Thomas says, was the Teapot Dome scandal a big event for you? Jerk. Jordan says, the death of media was when they could get clicks for making people angry. All it is clickbait. It is now. It is now. That's ultimately what everything is devolved into. Is it's all just now about getting the clicks. Can you get people to click? Can you get people to like, comment, subscribe on sites like YouTube? Can you get, whatever it is, that's all it is. And that's why YouTube itself is even trying to cater away from independent content creators. I mean, even like it's funny because we all look at like the next level of channel, and then when you get to that level, you find out that, oh, it ain't what you thought it was. Because like Lore Reloaded is at 100,000 subs, and he's learning that, oh wow, yeah, YouTube doesn't really give a crap about him. It's really, what YouTube cares about is the corporate level subs. YouTube cares about, if your name is CNN, then YouTube cares about you. YouTube doesn't give a crap about independent content creators, period. And so, which is sad, because, before Google bought YouTube, YouTube was all about independent content creation. Now YouTube is just another commercial. It's just, you know, it's really not that much different from like Tubi or Crackle or any other network that you would watch on Roku, right? It's, in fact, you can watch YouTube on Roku. And so it's not any different. It's just another streaming TV site. And the only difference is that Joe Average can create a channel and hopefully get a few people to watch. And but Google doesn't give a crap about me. Google doesn't give a crap about lore. Google wants, you know, would just as soon people like me go away. And that's why there's no support for people like me. That's why there's no recourse for people like me when we have trouble. What they want is, you know, people with, you know, their last name is incorporated. Do you think the Kalon will have a Borg Queen equivalent? I hope not. So far, they have not. You know, they simply communicate digitally, and they are of one mind. And so I hope they don't do anything like that. But they also haven't really come back, which has been disappointing to me. I want to see them back, but, you know, I'm hoping that, you know, we haven't just, they weren't a one and done threat. Remember, it's a TV budget, so they don't have money to make excellent CG ships and action. Wrong answer, Sci-Fi said Dan. Wrong answer. Because TV budget is not an excuse for lack of creativity. The original Enterprise was made on a TV budget, and it was made on a cheap budget for the 1960s. As was the original Klingon D7. All right? And the original Romulan Bird of Prey. Those are iconic ships to this day. The D7 is unmatched as a villain ship. And, I mean, it's still the best looking Klingon design. Yeah, the Katinga has more detail and it's a nicer looking variant of it, but it's still just the D7 with more detail. And so, you know, I just don't think that, you know, I don't think that's a good enough excuse. I can understand you can argue TV budget as far as building huge, expansive set pieces for every episode. You know, I don't expect them to do that. But if you're going to design a ship, and especially if the ship is going to be 3D modeled, I'm sorry. You know what? Seth MacFarlane could hire some, you know, he could hire me to design a ship, and he could pay me $50,000 to do a ship, which I guarantee you he spent more than $50,000 to have those Kalon, the Krill ships made. And he could pay me $50,000. I'll come up with something better looking than the Krill ship, guarantee you. All right, so don't tell me he couldn't come up with something better. Mercer says that, and there was they were in the episode "Nothing Left on Earth Excepting Fishes," which of course is also a line from a song from The King and I, which I believe they use. I think they played that song in the episode, if I remember correctly. If I remember, Wayun or Damar suggested to send ships after the Defiant, but Dukat said no. They were no match for the station. I think you're right. I think Wayun suggested it, and Dukat said no. But they still should have. It made no sense that they didn't. Music, not for music, though. 80s music and 80s... Well, I will give you 80s music was the best music. And yeah, Indiana Jones, that's when all the Indiana Jones movies came out. All of them. I don't care what anybody tells you. All the Indiana Jones movies came out in the 80s. Why so difficult? It is Indiana Jones meets Cancun. Not sure what you mean. Oh, that episode? Would you prefer the DS9 version of He Who Is Without Sin? Oh, wow. Jeez. You know, we could combine the two episodes. Why not? Tom says it's the third segment of that episode. Not sure. I'm so far behind in the chat. I'm not sure what you mean. Oh, you're talking about the clip you sent me. It's from the third segment. Gotcha. 39 in chat. A good number for a live stream. Wow, that's for a Sunday night. That's pretty good. Archery set was cool. Yeah, I had a 75-pound compound bow that I worked very hard to get and was very proud of. I was a pretty good shot too, and so never owned a gun in my life, but I was deadly with a bow, and and it definitely when I went into the Army. My archery skills definitely paid off when I picked up a rifle because I never missed a target. And archery, I already read that. Jordan says, so you want to rekindle Garrick and Julian's secret closet relationship. You know, that's probably what they would do
Hi
today.
dilly ho, hi dilly ho, hi dilly ho, hi dilly ho, oh hilly da, oh hilly da, oh hilly da, oh hilly da.
Mercer Napier $1. Bob, I want you to go down to the Globe. Follow that reporter Knox. Take your camera. See what he knows about this Batman. And Bob, remember, you are my #1 guy.
Ah, yes. Jack Nicholson is the one true Joker. I'm sorry. I think that, look, I actually, so I will say that Jared Leto's Joker is underappreciated, but I think Heath Ledger's Joker is a little overappreciated. Admiral Brocode is in the house. Says, good evening. How you doing, Admiral? Hope you are well, my friend. Multi-Gunman says, I would always spell swear words on my cousin's speak and spell, LOL, but I think that's fairly... Oh, yeah, everybody would do that. And, of course, it would just be fun to just even use abbreviations, you know, like F, U, you know, stuff like that. Thomas would say, what was the name of the game with the stick and the wheel you played when you got here in the Jamestown colony? Jerk. And I wouldn't call it a ripoff. It was inspired by a submarine movie. Oh, you're talking about the... Yeah. Now, I want to say that. Yeah, when I watched The Enemy Below, and because everybody would say, oh, Bounds of Terror, it's a ripoff of The Enemy Below. And there are some similarities. Some. They're not analogous of each other, though. They're not like... There's a few scenes that are similar. There's a... but they're not like, oh, yeah, they're obviously the same, you know. No. I mean, there's... You can tell that, okay, it's pretty likely that they, you know, that they saw it and were inspired by it, but... You know, calling it a ripoff would be like saying Star Wars is a ripoff of Buck Rogers. You know. So where do Mocklin eggs come out of? I don't know. And I don't know that I want to know. YouTube cares about corporations, channels with tens of millions of subs. Yes, indeed, that would be true. Confirmed, Salty Trekker doesn't care about Lore. No, I care about Lore. He's a good friend. I'm not YouTube. But I do find it very frustrating because I think that Google would find YouTube to be much more profitable if they let YouTube be what YouTube was before they started tinkering with it. If they let YouTube be the premier social media site for hosting video content. That's what YouTube was. And they're trying to make it into a news or a television network. And Alex says, Rumble is the YouTube of old. I don't know anything about Rumble. problem is that there's a million YouTube wannabes out there, and so far none of them are, you know, basically viable for people. And honestly, if one of them takes off and becomes viable, great. But it becomes a problematic in that, especially like I think about like Lore, YouTube is his only it's his income, right? So he can't just say, oh well, I'm going to go to Rumble then, and just pack up and go to Rumble. And it's not practical to say, well, I'm going to upload my videos to 750 sites and then try to track all of these and figure out which sites are making money and which sites aren't. And then, that's just not realistic. As a human being, we can only do so much. So we kind of got to, we got to hope that someone comes out with something that works eventually to dethrone YouTube. Which I think eventually will happen. I think that YouTube will eventually become the MySpace of video hosting, because that seems to be what Google wants to do. Jordan says, can we still get their you're a piece of crap tank tops? I don't know what happened to the store thing. I'm trying to figure that out myself. So bear with me on that. The Kalon came back for the last 2 episodes. That's true. But yeah, that weird alternate timeline thing. I forgot about that. The Romulan Bird of Prey D7 and TOS Starfleet shuttle were built with money from AMT Model Company so they could sell kits for fans to buy. So, still built on, you know what? The show had a shoestring budget. Krill ships look like conehead ships, sort of. Krill ships look like they're made with someone took a few pieces of cardboard, cut them into. I mean, I was looking at the Krill ships during the battle, and honestly, I was like, I don't get me wrong. I'm watching the battle is so good, but when the Krill, with the Krill ships, I'm like, man, I know they keep, because PJ Orville Nation, and I see he's in the chat now. Welcome, PJ, and thank you so much for the $5.
It's Orville Wrights and Gene Roddenberry's birthday this week, and I won't let anyone, even anti-trekker, throw shade on August 19th. Open mouth smile, open mouth smile.
I won't throw any shade. I did not know that, so I will not throw, I promise. Here, I solemnly swear I will not throw shade at Gene Roddenberry for the rest of this week, but just this week. That's all. That's all. I'll promise you, PJ. I did not realize that this was Gene Roddenberry's birthday week, so I will be nice to him this week. So, but as I was saying, and is that I know that the visual effects people are saying that, hey, season 3 of Orville is going to blow your minds. We've really stepped it up to 11. So if so, I hope against hope that they redesign the Krill ships, because the Krill ships look like dog crap to me. They absolutely do. You should get Pepper Trekker a Horgan statue for your anniversary or Christmas. I don't think that, that would work on her, but, that's not a bad idea. If I were Seth MacFarlane, I would have made a contest for the ship, for the Krill ships. Best design gets $100,000. I would enter that contest and I would come up with something better than what they have. How do you write a collective mind villain without putting a human element like a dictator queen, like the Borg queen? Heck, real world collectives are dictators. The Borg, prior to the addition of the Queen, were a perfect example. The Borg were a collective without a human element, like a dictator. They spoke with a unified voice. They did not make a mistake. They were a near perfect mind. And in fact, even with Locutus, they still had the hive mind behind Locutus. You never got the feeling that Locutus was an individual who was controlling the Borg. You felt that Locutus was simply a puppet of the collective, so that to facilitate assimilation. And what they could have done, and I'll tell you, if I was doing my little mini rewrite of Star Trek First Contact, like I'm doing with Sacrifice of Angels, is if you want to put the Queen in there, fine. Have your opening sequence of the Borg cube.
Mocklin eggs are delivered by the Great Bird of the Galaxy.
Well, there you go. That's what it is. Instead of a stork, the Great Bird of the Galaxy delivers Mocklin eggs. I should have that. You know what? That would actually be man. I tell you, Seth MacFarlane missed a golden opportunity there to have Bortus reading a nursery rhyme to their daughter/son about how their little Mocklins are delivered, and they could have the Great Bird of the Galaxy delivering the egg. That would have been hilarious to do that. Oh man, that would have been such a golden opportunity for a little jab at Trekkies, but unfortunately Seth didn't do it. Anyway, so all right, so Sci-Fi Sith. If I was doing a little rewrite of the Borg Queen, here's all you do: is opening scene for Star Trek First Contact. You see you just see like a open space or nebula or whatever, and then a little card pops up at the bottom of the screen, and it says Romulan space, stardate, blah blah blah, and you see a little ship going by, and Ian's in the house.
Say hailing frequencies open.
Hey, how you doing, Ian? Hope you are doing well, my friend. All right, so you got the little ship going by on the screen, and then all of a sudden behind the ship you see a Borg cube come up behind it. You see the tractor beam grab onto the ship, pull it in. You see the lone female occupant of the ship kind of panicking. The drone comes in, grabs her. They slam her down onto the little assimilation table like they did with Locutus, and then they inject her with the tubules, and she stops struggling. And then you see the little black veins start to encapsulate her, and she becomes whatever her name is then. And then she's the character that we then see as the Borg Queen later on in the movie. Right? Bam. If you want to have a character in that movie, because for the same reason that you had Locutus, that you need to have a face for your enemy, that you just have an assimilation scene at the beginning. That's not that hard to do. But instead, they wanted to do this Queen business that made no sense and broke the collective. And now you have the collective as just a bunch of zombies that do whatever she wants. Anyway, let's see. And of course, now Matthew's asking me questions when I'm live streaming. Let's see. All right, let's see. And where was I? Multi-Gunman says, what? You never owned a gun? Well, you should get at least one. Trips to the gun range are fun. Well, I will tell you. I'm not opposed. I'm a Second Amendment guy. I'm not opposed to gun ownership. Just for the record, I don't want people thinking that I'm like, oh, he's one of them anti-gun liberals. No, I'm very pro-gun as far as the gun rights. And if I were to own a gun, I can tell you that for handgun, I would want a Smith & Wesson 45 semi-auto. If I were to...
When I was in Afghanistan, locals asked if we would come back. Even dated a translator girl there. Media forgets the people we gave a false hope to.
Well, I don't know about a false hope, but, you gave hope to. Hope is never false. Hope can be, honestly, there's no such thing as false hope, unless you're deliberately misleading someone. But I don't think that, I think that, while you may disagree with pulling out of Afghanistan, and I certainly understand that. I don't want to get all into all the politics of that. I mean, Afghanistan is a complicated situation, but I don't think it's fair to call it a false hope. Just because we won't be there forever doesn't mean that the country is doomed. Anyway, so as far as handgun, I would have a Smith & Wesson 45 semi-auto. For rifle, long gun, I would actually want an M16 because I just like the M16. I know a lot of people don't like it. They go, "Oh, gun by Mattel," but I happen to like it.
Mercer $1. A gun rack. A gun rack. I don't even own a gun, let alone many guns that would necessitate an entire rack. What am I gonna do with a gun rack?
I do not know that quote. So you got me on that one, Mercer. I know you love throwing quotes out there, so I'm going to assume that is a quote from something, and I have no clue as to what that is a quote from. However, I don't own a gun for a couple of reasons. For the last several years, well, for the last, 17, 18 years, it's mainly been because I have a son who is autistic, and I wouldn't want him because he has a tendency to sometimes get himself into trouble by just doing whatever he feels like doing. Like there was an incident once where he was at a school and he was just like, wonder what would happen if I pulled the fire alarm. So he just pulled the fire alarm, right? So wouldn't want something like that to, cause a accidental discharge. So that's reason number one. As far as now, he's old enough to where I think that he would have enough self-control to where that would probably no longer be a problem. But quite frankly, with my reduced physical capabilities, and I know this may sound silly, but absolutely true. If you handed me a Smith & Wesson 45 semi-automatic handgun, I probably couldn't lift it. No joke. And I know I couldn't lift an M16 right now. So, since I couldn't lift the weapon's no use to me. Which, not trying to get pity, it's just a simple fact. That's what my condition is. And if I can't lift the weapon, it's of absolutely no use to me. And I'm certainly not going to the gun range with one of those little girl guns. Sorry. Like Stalin, Hitler, and Mao, among others, their collective, a dictator represents a collective. Well, a dictator is first of all, there is a difference between a dictatorship and a collective. Theoretically, a collective, like for example, communism, if in a perfect communistic government, collectivist thinking would mean that everybody is working for the good of everybody else. That's a collective. A dictatorship is that everybody works for the benefit of the dictator. That's not a collective. That's, basically, that's slavery. And there is a difference. I understand what people see it that way because what ends up happening, because we are not in a post-scarcity environment, communistic governments end up being more like people working to support the Communist Party, so it becomes more like a dictatorship. But in a perfect world, communism is collectivist. And just to now, I don't know about what Moa's political leanings were, but I will say that Hitler, just for the record, was not communist. And by the way, please don't put his name in the chat in the future, Sci-Fi Sith. That name can get the channel flagged, so please don't use it in the chat. Let's see. John DeMarco says, Bashir and Garrick were friends. This might be shocking, but two guys can be close friends without being romantic. I know, some people don't understand that. But, reasons. All right, and then the chat just jumped like crazy, so bear with me while I try to find where I was. There it is. Kermit says, have you heard of the show Bones? It gets really dark, but it's good. I've heard of it. Never.
I'm very conflicted about Afghanistan. I was in high school when it started. I barely noticed it. It's been there my whole life. Now I'm just asking why.
Understandable, dreamers out there, and thank you so much for the $5. I truly appreciate it. Afghanistan is one of those situations. Yeah, to a lot of people, it's just like it's just been a part of their lives because you're young. For me, I remember when it started, and it started over 9/11, and I get it. We were going after terrorist organizations, blah blah blah. And then people started talking about the reliability of intelligence, blah, blah, blah. And then people started arguing whether or not the intelligence was actually forged, blah, blah, blah. And politics this, politics that. And that's not what this channel is going to be about. So, as far as, it ending, it's ending. That's all I'm going to say on it. Springtime says, as I've said before, sometimes a show survives just on good reviews alone. For example, Arrested Development, Fox gives it a fair chance because it got great reviews despite low views. Well, channels will, there's such a thing as critical success and popular success. That is true. Trusted says, I love your idea. Ducat and Damar facing off against each other would have made some good TV. Well done. Thank you, my friend. Locutus says, that hairline is Kino. Bless you. What? That hairline is Kino. I have no idea what that means, Locutus. No idea. MLP Death Dealer's in the house and says, hey, how you doing, my friend? Hope you are well. I am just confused. George says, YouTube loses money and its subsidy is by Google so it can control the market. Well, Google does a lot of weird things with its the way that they lose money here, gain money there. Google, the way that the alphabet makes money is, by losing money in lots of areas. But yeah, I think Roddenberry would have been 100. I don't know what his age was. I have no clue. But I'm not throwing shade at Roddenberry. I promised PJ I wouldn't do it, even though PJ is more of an Orville guy. Isaac cutting off Gordon's leg as a joke is a perfect example of comedy. That was really funny. Although in the episode, honestly, it was one of those moments that it's like, I do like sometimes, and this is something I got to give Seth a lot of credit for, is Seth respects the intelligence of the viewer. Is that there are times when Seth will throw a joke in there that's a contemporary reference to something, and he's not going to take the time to explain it to you. He's just going to throw it in there, and if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. And so, and that's where, like, the walk in the park Kaczynski, and then he even went so far as to do the bite move, and it was beautifully done. And so, yeah, if you're never seen Top Gun, you're gonna be like, what the heck is this fool doing? But it was great. Let's see. Salty checker with a gun, that'd be like another Barney Fife. Sure, Deej. Good to see you, Deej. Multi-Gunman says those are very good firearm choices. Mer says it's from Wayne's World, which is essential viewing. I've seen Wayne's World, but it's been a long time since I've watched Wayne's World, I have to say. I thought you would go back to the Brown Bess musket. Never fired a single shot weapon. And I always thought single shot rifles was a waste of time. And so, yeah, never been interested in it. I never understood the appeal. Like, and you know, I get, yeah. You know, I know every time there's a shooting, people like want to talk about what kind of magazine they were using and like how, you know, what can we ban that they had, you know, because we can't ban guns. So what kind of equipment did they have? You know, can we ban the stock they were using, or can we ban the sight that they were using, or can we ban the, you know, the magazine they were using? And it's like, you know what? You guys, it's look, we're in the United States. In the United States, we have a little thing called the Second Amendment. As long as we have the Second Amendment, we're going to have gun crimes because guns are legal in this country. The only way you're going to eliminate all gun crime is if you repeal the Second Amendment and collect every gun. And you know what? Good luck doing that. It ain't going to happen. So, I'm sorry to all of you people out there that you know, want to do reasonable gun control measures. Good effing luck. It ain't gonna happen. So I think, you know, how about you just relax about the frickin' magazines? You don't need a 10-round magazine for hunting. No, but maybe I do for defending my home. You know, maybe I'm not buying a semi-automatic pistol for hunting. Maybe I'm buying a semi-automatic pistol for defending my home. You know, maybe I'm buying it because I'm worried, you know, like, for example, and just saying, maybe I'm buying it because I'm a white guy married to a black woman living in the American South in a time where racial tensions are high, and I'm worried about people showing up and burning a cross on my front lawn, right? Maybe I'm buying a gun for that eventuality and not because I want to go shoot a deer. You know, so yeah, maybe I need that 10-round magazine. So maybe you need to shut up. Because yes, there are in fact guns that are designed specifically for killing people. And yes, sometimes those are legitimate purchases. And that's all I'm going to say about gun control. The cat won't leave me alone, so I set the kid on her. Now can't find her. Well, Jordan, hope you like cat soup. Let's see. The gun rack thing is from Rain's World. Great movie. Locuta says, I was trying to convey that your hairline appears completely intact. You have a full head of thick, healthy hair. Some might trade chronic pain for that. Well, Locutus, I'll tell you, my hair, let me show you. See, hair? I got hair for days, buddy. I got hair for days here. I will sell you all my hair to get rid of my chronic pain. You know, honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that I absolutely love the church I go to. I love my wife and I love my son too much to make them pack up and leave where we live right now, because the church we go to is the most awesome church on the planet, and they both love the church we go to. If it wasn't for that fact, I would say let's go right now and move to a place where a certain herbal supplement is legal so that I can deal with the chronic pain. But, you know, I'm not going to make my family go through that because I love them a little more than I worry about the chronic pain. The Borg would not fiddle with that hairline. In fact, it would be assimilated as an exemplary to the collective. I think it would be, yes. I would hope so. Let's see. My cat is chilling out with me. My cat, we have a cat named Marshmallow, and that cat is just a jerk. But then again, most cats are jerks. Not enough libertarians on Star Trek. I agree. We need more libertarians on Star Trek. I absolutely agree with you. I defend my home with a dog to wake me up, and brutally sharp sword collection. Well, you know, I always thought that it would be fun to, you know, get like an alligator. Yes, Auntie. You know, Joshua tried to let you in here earlier, and then you wouldn't come in. So now you're out there and you're upset because you're not in here. And I can't get up and let you in because I'm doing a live stream. That would be Auntie. Hi. All right, so Joshua let Auntie in. Bill says, I don't think the Second Amendment, repealing the Second Amendment would eliminate gun crime, will take guns from law-abiding citizens, or its definition criminals are not law-abiding citizens. Well, here's how it would, and I'll tell you this, because, and I'm just being realistic here, okay? Don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting we repeal the Second Amendment. I'm not. I'm just talking about how unrealistic it is in this country.
Mercer $1. Burns to Spock, who is still unconscious. I'm gonna tell you something that I never thought I'd ever hear myself say, but it seems I've missed you, and I don't know if I could stand to lose you again.
That was one of Dr. McCoy's best scenes in what I think is one of the most underrated Star Trek movies, Star Trek 3. I really hate that Star Trek 3 is so underrated. It's criminally underrated. A lot of people don't give... it's got a great villain. I'm sorry, Christopher Lloyd was awesome as Krug. And it was a fun adventure, and yeah, it was all Trek, man, beginning to end. It was awesome. Anyway, but let me be real for a second as far as the repealing the Second Amendment. First of all, I'm not advocating repealing the Second Amendment, but I'm saying to my friends of the Democratic Party, whenever they start talking about their reasonable gun control issues, I'm saying, first of all, the only way that they're going to ever really make a difference is to repeal the Second Amendment, which they know full well they can't do, because you'd have to get 3/5 of the state to ratify, and that ain't never going to happen because the majority of the states by numbers are pro Second Amendment. That's brick wall number one. So you can't repeal the Second Amendment just based on the number of states that would say, heck no, we ain't repealing the Second Amendment. Besides that, even if you and it's true, if you did repeal the Second Amendment, you're right that in the short term, it would only take guns out of the hands of law-abiding citizens. You're absolutely right. Over time, it would eliminate gun crime. It would take a generation or so, but it would, because it would eventually basically eliminate the supply of guns. It would take time, though, because where most of the illegal guns come from is theft, you know, and so those guns would dry up, And as people are arrested with illegal guns, they'd be confiscated and destroyed and all that. Eventually, those guns would be confiscated and destroyed. And eventually, we'd have a system more like many of our European brethren where the police wouldn't even have guns. All right. Now, I am not advocating that at all. I think that and the reason we don't want that in this country is our country is founded on rebellion and freedom. Our country says we are the land of the free. We are not going to surrender our personal individual freedoms under any circumstances. And so because of that, that's why we have the Second Amendment. That's why we have the First Amendment. And those amendments ain't going anywhere. And I wish I could remember who it was. One of the founding fathers wrote in one of their letters, and it was just beautiful, that they said the reason for the Second Amendment is in case the government forgets about the First. And that's, I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically, and so ultimately, despite what many of the anti-Second Amendment people forget, is that honestly, the reason for the Second Amendment is so that we could overthrow the government.
He who controls the spice controls the universe.
No guns, stabby, stabby, ask the Brits.
Well, that's true that, granted, I do know that, crime will still happen. But, and Orville says, oh my God, Maria from Tea and Telly is here. Okay, I'm not 100% sure who that is. And is there, I do see a Maria from Tea and Telly. So, well, I did not see you there, Maria from Tea and Telly. Welcome. And you're freaking out Orville Nation, so be careful. I don't want Orville Nation to explode. Because, that would be bad. It'd get messy. It would get very, very messy, Maria. So please don't make Orville Nation explode. I don't want to have to clean up the floor. Anyway, the problem is that, and so we have these amendments built into our system because as Americans, we are so obsessed with these personal freedoms and we ain't giving them up. And that's fine. And I'm personally, I just want people, but I don't think that I don't think they're going away. And I do think that, it's the price we pay. Gun crime is the price we pay for having freedoms. Freedoms ain't going anywhere. And to the people who are left, or should I say leftist thinking, it's one of those things you're gonna have to learn to deal with. It's why I'm so against ideological thinking. Is because if you're focused so hard on your ideology, you forget that there are some things you just can't change. And this is one of those things. The United States is based on these basic freedoms, and those basic freedoms include gun rights, and those gun rights means that people are going to commit gun crimes and get over it. And that's it. We're done with the gun topic. I don't want to talk about gun topics anymore, gun control anymore. Unless somebody wants to super chat me a whole lot of money, then we can keep talking about it. Like, lots of money, like massive amounts. And yes, you can actually use a 3D printer to make a gun, but it's not a very good one. If the guns are gone, then people would just stab each other like in Belton. Second Amendment is not about hunting, it's about the government respecting the people. It is. Do you think they should get rid of the age of consent in this country? There are some Democrats want to get rid of the age of consent. No, I do not. I think that, you know, if anything, I think that we should actually make age of consent a tougher set of laws, not a looser, I mean, how do you get rid of age of consent? I mean, that's insane. I mean, I understand there are people that genuinely believe that, you know, man, we're just going on all up and down the morality thing today, I guess. I know there are people that genuinely believe that, hey, showing pornography to kids is fine. You know, that morality is, you know, just an illusion, blah, blah, blah. And I think those people are Batwoman crazy. I disagree with them wholeheartedly. And I don't know what else to say. They're wrong. And so I don't think that I don't think that allowing children to have sexual relations with adults is a good idea ever. And anybody that does think that's a good idea needs to get their head examined. You know, sorry. Let's see. And let's see. Government will have to kill me to take my phasers. And Alex, thank you so much.
He who controls the spice.
Got some more
controls the
spice coming
universe.
in.
Russia was never based on freedom. Has not stopped gangs buying RPGs from old arms factories. So ordinary people begged for a Putin to bring order.
Well, I'm not, well, I don't know much about Russia, Alex. And I'm assuming that those RPGs are not entirely legal. But, yeah, I like I said, we're done. I don't want to talk about politics all night. Not unless somebody wants to bribe me a whole lot of money, which I know you've been very generous, but I tell you, you know what? I don't have spinning Spock, but I did actually manage to find, let me see if I can pull it up here. I did manage to find some interesting footage, thanks to Thomas Potts. And I apologize, it's going to probably be kind of loud. So you may want to turn down the volume. But I'm going to show you a clip from the Sacrifice of Angels battle that, where is it? Here it is. Where Bird of Prey 5 actually swoops into the battle. Our favorite, you know, our favorite Kurogan, he's in the battle. There he is. Did you see him? Here, let me full screen him here for a minute. And, well, I don't know how loud that was, so I'll bring the volume down here. And we'll loop it for a minute here. There we go. Whoop, boom. There he goes. You can see, you can tell it's Bird by looking at his Kurogan flying style, where he almost takes out half his own squadron. Yeah, that's definitely Bird. And then he gets shot down by his own teammates there. That's definitely Bird. All right, there we go. So we got to see Bird O' Prey 5 in action during Sacrifice of Angels. So I bet everybody's really thrilled about that. And now I didn't destroy his ship. You know? He's the one cutting off Klingons, flying in front. I mean, flying like a Kurogan. What do you want from? I mean, the funny thing is, the only thing I did was add the little thing so you could see which ship was him. That is, if you, now here's the best part of that clip is that now any one of you is going to go back and watch Sacrifice of Angels, and you will know that that is Bird of Prey 5. You're going to see that clip, and you're going to see that ship, and you're not going to be able to not see that that is Bird of Prey 5 cutting off ships and flying in front and getting shot down by another bird of prey. So Drew's out there said it did always look like that bird of prey shot down its buddy, but if you watch the HD from the documentary, actually it's hit by enemy. Oh yeah, I know. It looks like, I think what happened there is it's unfortunate the way they line up. I think it's actually a Jem'Hadar fire that hits it, but you know, I wouldn't want to use HD because it might get, you know, a copyright claim from Neon Visual. Alex says rule of law is not a big deal in Russia. George says you should have a super chat saying everything everything that guy says is BS. My cousin Vinny reference. I'm not sure. Oh, like, well, except that I try not to throw too much swearing on the show, so that would probably be a bit much. Do a clip of Bird of Prey 5 getting rolled into a fight Darth Vader. That would be good. Ooh, you just gave me an idea. Ooh, now you're giving me an idea. Bill asked, does your church have online services? They do. They stream our Sunday morning services, which is good because I have not been able to, with the way my condition is right now, I basically have a difficult time spending extended periods of time in anything other than this chair or our bed, which has been very difficult for me. I don't, I mean, just getting a little serious here for a second, but it's driving me crazy that this room and our bedroom are like the only places I've been for the last couple of months, other than, you know, going to doctor's appointments and stuff. But yeah, going to church has been very difficult for me. But the missus and Joshua still go every Saturday. And I'm gonna try, you know, like I'm starting the medication this week. I'm gonna try to go. I'm looking at getting like a good seat cushion or something that I can try to sit on. It's the problem is that anything I'm in physical contact with just hurts, and so it's very difficult for me to sit on anything that has any kind of firmness to it. And I don't know what, you know, I'm just trying to deal with it. You should make the other Bird of Prey 5 Matthew. We have Matthew go, oops, sorry. If you ever watch Idiocracy or movie night, you should start like a documentary, What Happened to Kuroga. You know, I think, yeah, Idiocracy, the Kuroga story. And thank you. Indy Tiger throws $10 in. Let's see. Nightingale one mentioned Lower Decks opening.
He who controls the spice controls the universe.
Nightingale Woman mentioned in Lower Decks opening episode this season was the same poem Gary Mitchell quoted to Dr. Dana in TOS episode Where No Man Has Gone Before.
I did not catch that. Wow. I mean, they do a lot of deep cuts on that show, but I did not catch that. Wow. What to talk. Now, tomorrow night, I know the virtual pub will be back, and looking forward to that very much. But that is impressive. And by the way, my favorite thing about that whole thing with the Gary Mitchell parallel is the fact that the doctor I love the fact that from the very beginning, the doctor is like, oh yeah, we just need to drop a boulder on him. It's like, they ended up dropping a boulder on him. That was like the best thing. I love that. Kermit says, shouldn't every ship have shields? So why is it immediately blown up? Oh, the Klingons are more reckless. They're not so. They may rely on their fancy flying. No, you're right, Kermit. And I mentioned that in my long video on it. Is that the ships just blow up? I mean, you saw it when Bird of Prey 5 blew up there. I mean, people say, "Oh, well, you know, the shields are just they're on the." No, look at this. You know, this is the Klingons entering into the fight. Oh no, the Sinatra Convention Center.
Sinatra_convention_center $1. We don't understand why no one came to the Discovery Convention. Oh well, it's over now.
Well, Sinatra Convention Center, it's probably because it's a Discovery Convention. I think that's why nobody showed up. But yeah, if you look here, look at this shot. I mean, because, you know, besides the fact that Bird of Prey's ridiculous piloting, I mean, this is the Klingons entering into the battle, and it's like, where are the shields? There's no shields. There's literally no shields. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Getting salty. Man. You need Captain Pike's chair to go to church in. That would be awesome if it was very comfortable. I found memory foam pet products sometimes on sale, worth buying and using. Pet products? Okay. Prayers for you, Salt Trekker, even more for Mrs. Salt Trekker since you're in her bedroom so much. Thanks, Bill. Does the fibromyalgia Med G help with tremors? Well, it's not fibromyalgia med. It's oh gosh, I don't remember what it's called. Copaxone is the name of the drug, and it's which is a it's a drug that's used for MS. And what I have is a form of MS. Let's see. It's possible that smaller ships are being hit by weapons fire from bigger cruisers and their shields just don't protect them. Well, except that this isn't the first time. I mean, we've seen, and it's also the Dominion ships too. I don't have a clip ready to show, but we see that in Favor the Bold when they set a trap for Dominion ships. The Dominion ship shows up. Worf decloaks with the Bird of Prey and just pulverizes them. You know, it's like there's just no shields. The Dominion War. At first, you know, they were like, oh no, the Dominion weapons go right through our shields. But then they figure out a way to make the shields work. We're like, whew, that was close. Now our shields work again. And then they just kind of forgot about shields. They just said, screw it. We're not using shields. Ships just blow up like it's frickin' Star Wars. So, yeah. Jordan says, gotta love the part in Strange Energies when Mariner had to continuously apply concentrated...
I haven't seen your Sunday morning streams for a while. Is there something I'm missing?
Well, the Sunday morning streams usually focused on religion. But other than that, it's just me and my lovely glory rambling on. So... If you don't want me talking about religion, avoid the Sunday morning streams. If you do want me talking about religion, you can join in or watch the replay. So that's up to you. But that's why I name them Church Life. I don't want them. I don't hide the fact that that's what we do. It's funny because every Sunday morning I lose a few subscribers because, oh no, he's a Christian, ew, and so I lose a couple of subscribers, which that's fine. I mean, if people are, gonna be offended by that, let them be offended. You know what? Life is too short to worry about getting offended over crap. I don't get offended by much, believe me. And it's funny because, you would think, people they don't understand. Wait, you're a Christian and you're not offended by me, saying horrible, F-bomb at this and F-bomb that. No, look, I've been around. I was in the military. No, you're not going to offend me as long as you're not, purposely doing things just to be offensive, in which case I might ask you to stop. But, and I don't like, oh no, my virgin ears. You're not going to hear that. What's a virtual pub? Well, tune in to Life with Matthew's channel tomorrow night at 9:30 p.m. and you will find out. 24 hours and 51 minutes from now. Assuming he's on time, which he never is. Andy Tiger says, I'm going to go find a boulder. That was hilarious. Yeah, I love the whole boulder thing. Maybe they have weapons that can go through shields. They didn't. They did that on DS9 episode where they were hunting the lizard man that helped escape. Well, no. The problem is at first they did, then they didn't. But then nobody's shields worked. Alex says 2 Deus Ex Machinas, Klingons and Prophets, too much for one episode. Now the Klingons was not a Deus Ex Machina because the Klingon and this is where during my rewrite, some of what I'm talking about, like the Klingons, they because at the beginning they're like, okay, Worf, Martok, you guys go get the Klingons, right? So that's not a Deus Ex because we knew that Worf and Martok were trying to get them. That's okay. That's a cavalry moment. Yeah, it kind of is a Deus Ex, but it's not it's not like, oh, where did that come from? We knew exactly where that came from because we saw Worf and Martok leaving to go get them. It was logical. What didn't make sense was the prophets because everything and you'll see in my rewrite, I'm not changing the fact that the prophets intervened, but I'm changing the setup for it a little bit. And you may like it, you may hate it, but I'll see. I'm turning it more into a spiritual awakening for Cisco. Because I think that's the only way to make it work. They could not have shields up as well. I don't know why, but they're Klingons. Who knows what they're thinking. Mercer says, Nermal likes you. Well, thank you. I do like Nermal. He's a cute cat. Heading to bed. Have a good night. All right, Tress, I'm going to wrap up in a minute here, I think, because I think it's almost dinner time. Kermit says, it seems like shields are there when it's convenient in Star Trek, or am I wrong? Well, the problem is that the writing here is not very consistent. Alex says, Copaxone, I will ask my contact in Canada for the price. Well, I will tell you that here in the good old US of A, the retail price of Copaxone is $6,000 for a month's worth. Standard is 40 milligrams per injection 3 times a week. Virtual pub sounds fun. Yeah, virtual pub is fun. We hang out on Life with Matthew's channel. His channel is called Life with Matthew, all one word. As far as I know, he's the only... And John, if you don't mind, put the link in for his channel, since you're the channel master there. We meet at 9:30 on Mondays. Bring your own booze. Sorry, Matthew doesn't bring it for you. And we just kind of hang out on Monday nights. And so... looking forward to. He's been rebuilding the bar, so apparently it's going to look really spiffy. Looking forward to it. Let's see. Mercer says, Admiral, your young friend is mistaken. I meant what I said. And now, sorry. Gotta do my Christopher Lloyd. I'm a little tired, though. Admiral, your young friend... Yeah, I can't do Christopher Lloyd right now. Your young friend is mistaken. I meant what I said. No, I can't do it, man. And now to show that my intentions are sincere, I will kill one of the prisoners. Yeah, I can't do it. Sorry. Let's see. And let's... Dreamers out there says, I once had some Mormons tell me in antiquity, Christianity had always existed. The Bible, all of it, but we forgot about it until Jesus Christ came around. Thoughts on this? Look, I don't want to be disrespectful to the Mormon Church. Jordan says, oh, sure, my comment gets covered up by a super chat. I'm sorry, Jordan. And there's John putting Life with Matthew's channel in there. Thank you, John. Kermit says, the Enterprise could have taken them all single-handedly. Well, only because the Enterprise has plot armor. Mercer asks, are you looking forward to Shang-Chi? Very much. Honestly, Shang-Chi, I have a couple of his comics. I wasn't really looking forward to Shang-Chi, but then, because I'm going to be completely honest, in the comic books, I thought he was boring. He's just a martial artist, right? And he's like the world's great. He's like Kung Fu Master Shang-Chi. He's the world's greatest martial artist in the comic books, right? And that's it. He no superpowers. He's just the world's greatest martial artist. I didn't give a crap about him. I've read a couple of them and it's like, ooh, yay, he's really good at Kung Fu. That's his superpower. And then I start seeing the trailers and what they do with the 10 rings. And I'm like, holy crap, this looks awesome. So now I'm looking forward to it. So kudos, Marvel. You turned the most boring character in the MCU into something interesting. You did it again. Lord M says, one thing, Star Trek Picard, they need to have Admiral Jean-Luc Picard to negotiate the Federation as into the membership with the Dominion. I don't think we're going to see the Dominion. And Dreamer's out there says, ha, that was your answer. You don't want to be mean to the Mormons. Yes. Took you a minute, right? Sorry, I know I was being a little snarky and a little silly, but that's the best I can do there. James says, what I don't get is how can Jesus be king of the Jews and then we have Christians? It makes no sense. Well, why does that make no sense? To finish comment, would you tell Mariner, let's see. To finish comment, you could tell Mariner wanted to hit Jack's neutral zone. Yes, indeed. Maybe Picard could surrender to the Dominion on the Federation's behalf. Well, Picard is very good at surrendering. He did do that in, of course, his first encounter with Q. You know, yeah, he should surrender to Q as soon as he sees him, of course. Will it be possible? Will we do possible business if it is much cheaper up north? Well, I can't buy it under the table. So you know, it's one of those things that it's not like you can buy black market Copaxone, and that I'm not gonna, as long as my insurance covers the majority of the cost and all that, and they have their copay assistance program that's going to help with at least a good chunk of the remainder. Right now, from what I see, the part that the insurance isn't paying is about $1,000 a month. We're still waiting to see how much is not covered by the copay assistance program, but whatever it is, we'll manage to squeeze it out. It's going to be difficult, but man, I'm not going to lie. It's been a difficult time our savings is gone. Our, credit cards are maxed, but one way or another, God will provide. And you guys have been very generous, and hopefully you will continue to be. The channel's actually doing fairly well right now. If I can continue to put out a few videos, maybe we can keep things moving in the right direction. If the drug does well, I can get back to work. If the drug doesn't do well and I have to go on disability, God will provide. I'm confident of that. And I don't know how or why, but this is the circumstance we're in. Not the circumstance I would have chosen, but a wise man once told me, God doesn't say oops. So that's about all I can say on that. Were the Borg completely destroyed at the end of Voyager? What do you think about the Dominion? Well, where the Borg, I was one that was always of the belief that the Borg were wiped out. However, from what we see in Picard, it would appear that's not the case. But, who knows? Maybe someone will write them in, maybe they won't. But then again, Picard doesn't seem to take place in the prime timeline. In my opinion, they're not. But then again, before I do the Captain's Holiday, I'm probably going to do my multiple timeline theory, because I'm itching to do the multiple timeline theory. That one's going to take a lot of work, though. But part of that will probably depend on how I'm feeling. Our courteous and efficient staff is on call 24 hours a day to serve all your supernatural elimination needs. Yes, indeed. Well, Picard is French. They are known for surrendering over nothing. That is true. Jordan's got an old French rifle for sale. Never fired, been dropped twice. That is absolutely horrible, Jordan. That is absolutely horrible. And yeah, Alex kind of answering for you. Christians are kind of a breakaway Jewish faction. Well, as far as, that's why I was saying kind of, James, why is it surprising that, what doesn't make sense if Jesus is king of the Jews, but we have Christians. And now granted, there are Christians that are anti-Semitic, which makes no sense to me. Any Christian that claims to be that is anti-Semitic in attitude needs to check themselves and read the frickin' Bible.
Hi diddly ho, hi diddly ho, hi diddly ho, hi diddly ho.
And Sinatra Convention Center with another $1. Thank you. Or was that no?
John, $2. A small contribution to the doctors.
Thank you so much, John. I don't know why it said the Sinatra Convention Center on my screen, but now it says John with $2, a small contribution to the doctors. Thank you. They will enjoy taking your money. And I know I've been joking about that a lot, that the doctors are taking all your money. And yeah, they are. But it's also, because of it, it's helping me, keep food on the table, keep the lights on, keep streaming, all that good stuff. If I do have to go on disability, worst case scenario, absolute worst case scenario, we sell the house, we move into a smaller house. I don't want that, but that's not going to be the end of the world. The good news is we're not upside down in our house. With what we owe on the house compared to what the house is worth, we can definitely sell the house for a lot more than we owe on it, which means we could sell the house for enough to pay off the mortgage and buy a house straight up cash, so that we wouldn't have a mortgage. And that's why we would do that. So we wouldn't have a mortgage, and then that way we could just survive on disability pay. We don't want it to come down to that. We'd rather keep this house because it's a beautiful house. But if that's what we need to do, that's what we need to do. And if we do move, I will probably stay in this general area because we do love this church so much. We're not moving to another area unless it was absolutely necessary. If we did move to another area, though, I would want to move to an area where that certain herbal supplement was legal. But that I don't want to put the family through that. What do you think about what happened in Afghanistan? I don't really have enough information to give an honest assessment of the whole thing, so I'm not going to get into that. We already talked about it a little bit earlier, and I don't want to get back into politics right now. Merce says, get some rest. I'm gonna in just a minute. Indie Tiger says, it would be a good book into Picard's career since he surrendered to Q in the first episode of TNG. Yeah, he should surrender. I think in the last episode of Picard this season, he should just he should surrender to Q and just say, all right, I'm ready to surrender to you, Q, and then Q will turn into death. And Kermit says, we just wasted a whole lot of life and money in that corner of the world, and we should just pave it over. Well, I wouldn't say that, but it has been, and not just us, a lot of countries have wasted a lot of effort in Afghanistan. Just saying. Dad says, don't move to Matthew's house. He would still ignore you. It's funny because if Matthew didn't live in Texas, why did they have to frickin' live in Texas? I mean, ew. I couldn't live there. I don't want to live where, dirt and cactuses. Ugh. So, yeah. All right, guys. So I am going to wrap it up there because I am getting a little beat. And so tomorrow I'm going to try to finish up part 3 of this epic Sacrifice of Angels quadrilogy, it's looking like. And then after that, maybe do a live stream if I can. I'll try to maybe do it on Twitch. I haven't done anything on Twitch lately. And then we got the virtual pub tomorrow night. Looking forward to that. And so in the meantime, live long and prosper, all that good stuff. And I'm not sure, Cupetto? Because Pinocchio, got it. And yeah. And no, Alex, it doesn't make sense because anti-Semitic Christians make no sense because Jesus himself was a Jew. That's why it doesn't make sense. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, guys, so with that, I don't have a good sign off. I need to make one of those little sign off videos like Bird of Prey 5 has, where it says, but wait, there's more. You can get all your Bird of Prey 5 needs done by just going to my website and giving me lots of money and, giving to my Patreon and blah, blah, blah. And, I'm awesome and stuff like that. I need something like that because I don't have anything cool like that. I just have me sitting here saying blah, 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 live long and prosper. And yeah, I'll come up with something eventually. Yes.